Chapter 1, Into the Woods. This chapter is about Jack and Annie going into the woods. Annie thinks she sees a monster, but Jack doesn't believe her because monsters aren't real, right? Annie races into the woods, and Jack, being the older brother, follows her. But then, Annie disappears. Jack gets a bit worried and calls for Annie. Finally, she shouts for him to come closer. What did she find? A super long rope ladder going up into a treehouse. Annie wants to check it out, but Jack is a little worried because they don't know who owns it. Annie climbs up the ladder, and Jack, even though he's a bit hesitant, decides to join her. When they reach the top, they find out the treehouse is filled with books. Jack loves books, so he's super excited. Now, they're both up in the treehouse, and it's getting dark. What will happen next? I can't wait to find out. Chapter 2, The Monster. In this chapter, Jack and Annie are up in the treehouse filled with lots and lots of books. Jack is curious about who owns the books, and Annie has already found one about dinosaurs that she likes. Jack finds a book about castles and another one about Pennsylvania. As they look out the window, they can see far, far away. Annie points out their house, and they even see their neighbor's dog, Henry, who looks tiny from up there. Jack is a bit worried about being in the treehouse because they don't know who the books belong to. But then, something surprising happens. Annie spots a real live pteranodon, a flying dinosaur, outside the window. Jack is amazed and even touches the picture of the pteranodon in the book. However, they soon realize that it's not just a picture, the pteranodon is real, flying straight toward their treehouse. The treehouse starts spinning, and the wind picks up. Jack and Annie hold on tight, and suddenly, everything becomes still. When they open their eyes, they find themselves still in the treehouse, but something seems different. What will happen next? I can't wait to find out. Chapter 3, Where is Here? In this chapter, Jack and Annie find themselves in a place that looks exactly like the picture in the dinosaur book. The pteranodon they saw in the book is now right outside their treehouse. Jack is confused and wonders how they ended up here. Annie reminds him that he wished to see a pteranodon for real, and now they are in a place with dinosaurs. The pteranodon stands by the tree like a guard, and Annie decides to say hi to it, even though Jack is a bit worried. They try to figure out where they are, and Jack reads from the book that the pteranodon lived in the Cretaceous period, which was 65 million years ago. Jack thinks it's impossible that they landed in a time so long ago. Annie insists that the pteranodon is nice and suggests going down to talk to him. Jack is surprised and calls her crazy, but Annie bravely goes down the rope ladder and approaches the ancient creature. What will happen when they talk to the pteranodon? It's getting more exciting. Chapter 4. Henry, Jack and Annie are now on the ground with the pteranodon, and Annie is doing something surprising. She's trying to be friends with the dinosaur. Jack is worried and tells her not to get too close, but Annie touches the pteranodon's crest, talks to him, and even compares his softness to their neighbor's dog, Henry. Jack decides to come down too, thinking like a scientist. He cautiously touches the pteranodon's fuzzy skin and takes notes in his notebook. They discuss the creature's bony crest and wonder how smart he is. Jack doubts it, suggesting the pteranodon's brain might be tiny, but Annie insists he's smart and decides to name him Henry. Jack writes down his doubts in his notebook, questioning if the creature has a small brain or if he's a mutant. The pteranodon tilts his head, reacting to their conversation. Annie attempts to communicate with the creature, asking if they are in a place from long ago. Suddenly, Annie spots a huge dinosaur on top of a hill. This chapter is full of excitement and discoveries, with Annie making friends with the pteranodon and the mystery deepening as they encounter more dinosaurs. What will happen next? It's an adventure with lots of questions. Chapter 5, Gold in the Grass. Jack and Annie are back in the tree house, and Jack is in a hurry to leave. They tumble into the tree house and catch their breath, looking out the window at a triceratops, a big dinosaur with 3 horns. Jack identifies it from the dinosaur book and reassures Annie that it only eats plants. Annie, full of excitement, suggests they go see the triceratops and take notes because they might be the first people ever to see a real live one. Jack reluctantly agrees, reminding Annie not to pet, kiss, or talk to the dinosaur. They climb down the ladder, and Jack has to remind Annie of her promises. As they approach the triceratops, Annie blows a kiss to the pteranodon, named Henry, and Jack reminds her to be quiet. They observe the triceratops eating flowers and Jack takes notes. Annie, being playful, starts teasing Jack and ends up catching the triceratops's attention. Surprisingly, the dinosaur seems nice and calmly walks away. Annie insists that the triceratops is nice, but Jack is more cautious. As they continue exploring, Jack discovers a gold medallion in the grass, engraved with a fancy M. This discovery raises questions about who might have been there before them. The adventure becomes even more mysterious. This chapter is filled with excitement, dinosaur discoveries, and a surprising twist with the gold medallion. What other mysteries will Jack and Annie uncover in this prehistoric world? Chapter 6: Dinosaur Valley. In this chapter, Jack is excited to show Annie the gold medallion he found, but she's busy picking a flower and isn't paying attention. When she finally rushes down the hill, Jack follows and discovers a valley filled with nests made of mud. These nests are filled with tiny dinosaurs. Annie, fascinated, crouches near a nest, and suddenly a gigantic duck-billed dinosaur appears, making loud sounds. Jack rushes to her rescue, instructing her to crawl slowly. The situation becomes tense as they try not to provoke the huge dinosaur. Annie offers the dinosaur her magnolia flower, and after some tension, Jack realizes the dinosaur isn't angry anymore. However, Annie, being adventurous, decides to fetch more flowers for the dinosaur at the top of the hill. Jack worries about the babies and realizes from the dinosaur book that anatosauruses live in colonies, with some mothers babysitting while others hunt for food. Annie, at the top of the hill, befriends the anatosaurus by feeding it magnolia flowers. Jack, intrigued, wonders why the dinosaur runs away suddenly. As he investigates, he sees a terrifying creature approaching, a Tyrannosaurus rex with big legs, a long tail, and tiny arms. This chapter is full of excitement, danger, and surprising dinosaur encounters. The introduction of the Tyrannosaurus rex adds a thrilling element to Jack and Annie's adventure. What will happen next in this land of dinosaurs? Chapter 7: Ready, Set, Go. Jack and Annie find themselves in a dangerous situation as the Tyrannosaurus rex approaches. Jack urges Annie to run to the tree house, and they sprint down the hill, past the pteranodon, and quickly climb the rope ladder to safety. From the safety of the tree house, they watch the Tyrannosaurus rex. It initially seems like it's leaving, but then it turns around. Jack and Annie duck down, fearing the worst. After a tense moment, they cautiously check and find that the coast is clear. Jack, realizing they need to leave the dinosaur land, attempts to make a wish to return to Frog Creek, but nothing happens. Annie reminds him that he was looking at a picture in the dinosaur book when he made a wish before. Jack realizes he left the book and his pack on the hill, including his notebook with important notes. Despite Annie's suggestion to forget about it, Jack rushes down the rope ladder, past the pteranodon, and through the ferns and tall grass to retrieve his belongings. When he reaches the hilltop, he sees the valley filled with anatosauruses guarding the nests. He bravely charges down the hill, grabs his pack and the book, but then realizes the Tyrannosaurus rex is back, standing between him and the tree house. The chapter ends with Jack facing the enormous Tyrannosaurus rex, creating suspense and leaving readers eager to know how Jack will escape this perilous situation. Chapter 8: A Giant Shadow. In this chapter, Jack finds himself in a scary situation as the Tyrannosaurus Rex approaches. Panicking, he hides behind a magnolia tree and tries to figure out what to do. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, a huge and frightening creature, is nearby, and Jack knows he needs to stay calm. Jack observes the duck-billed dinosaurs in the valley, making sure they stay near their nests. He also notices that the Tyrannosaurus Rex hasn't spotted him yet. Jack decides to consult the dinosaur book for information, but the details about the Tyrannosaurus Rex being the largest meat-eating land animal make him more anxious. Jack considers different options. He can't hide on the other side of the hill because it might cause a stampede among the Anatosauruses. Running to the tree house might be risky since the Tyrannosaurus Rex is fast. Jack contemplates waiting for the monster to leave. Unexpectedly, Jack sees Annie descending the rope ladder. She heads straight to the Pteranodon, seemingly talking to him and pointing towards Jack and the treehouse. Jack is worried and urges Annie to go back up the tree. Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus Rex roars and notices Jack. Panicking, Jack hits the ground. The huge dinosaur is approaching the hill, causing the ground to shake. Jack is unsure whether to run, crawl back into Dinosaur Valley, or climb the magnolia tree. In a surprising turn of events, a giant shadow covers Jack as the Pteranodon glides overhead, coming straight for him. The chapter ends with suspense, leaving readers curious about what will happen next. Chapter 9: The Amazing Ride. In this chapter, Jack faces a thrilling and miraculous experience as he rides on the back of the Pteranodon. The Pteranodon lands on the ground, and Jack is unsure if he should climb on due to his weight. However, he decides not to overthink it and eases onto the Pteranodon's back, holding on tightly. As they take off, Jack teeters and almost falls, but the Pteranodon stabilizes, lifting into the sky. Jack looks down, seeing the Tyrannosaurus Rex approaching. The Pteranodon glides over the hill, the valley, and various dinosaurs, providing Jack with an incredible view. Jack feels like a bird, light as a feather, and enjoys the rush of wind through his hair. The experience is a miracle for him, and he can't believe he's riding on an ancient flying reptile. The Pteranodon takes him over the stream, ferns, and bushes before landing at the base of the oak tree. Jack thanks the Pteranodon and watches as it glides into the sky. Annie checks on Jack's well-being from the tree house, and Jack, still captivated by the experience, reassures her. He attempts to climb back into the tree house, but his legs are wobbly, and he feels a bit dizzy. Annie urges him to hurry as the Tyrannosaurus Rex approaches. In a rush, Jack scrambles into the tree house just in time. The Tyrannosaurus Rex slams against the oak tree, causing the tree house to shake. Jack and Annie tumble into the books, and Jack realizes they need the book with the picture of Frog Creek to make a wish. Amid the chaos, Jack finds the book, points to the picture, and the wind starts to moan. The tree house begins to spin faster and faster. As everything becomes still, the chapter ends, leaving readers eager to know where the tree house will take Jack and Annie next. Chapter 10: Home Before Dark. In the final chapter, Jack and Annie find themselves back in Frog Creek, pointing at the picture of the Frog Creek woods and the magic tree house. The woods are bathed in a golden late afternoon light, and they realize that no time has passed since they left. Annie identifies their mother calling from the distance, and Jack sees her standing in front of their house, looking tiny. Still feeling dazed, Jack questions Annie about what happened, expressing confusion about how they traveled so far away and so long ago. Annie explains the magic behind the tree house, mentioning Jack's wish upon a book as the trigger for their journey. Jack is curious about who built the magic tree house and who left the books there. As they discuss the mysterious aspects of their adventure, Jack takes out the gold medallion he found in Dinosaur Land with the letter M engraved on it. Annie speculates that M might stand for a magic person who had been there before them. They hear their mother calling again, prompting them to leave the tree house. Jack puts the gold medallion back in his pocket and returns the dinosaur book to its place. They bid farewell to the tree house, and Annie shouts, "Goodbye, house." They descend the ladder and leave the woods, heading toward their home. Jack acknowledges that nobody will believe their story, anticipating skepticism from their parents and teacher. As they walk through their neighborhood, the trip to dinosaur time starts feeling like a dream. However, Jack clasps the gold medallion in his pocket, feeling the engraving of the letter M and finding reassurance that their adventure was real. The chapter ends with Jack and Annie planning to return to the woods and the tree house the next day to see what happens next. They race home together, laughing and looking forward to their future adventures. The magic and mystery of the tree house remain, setting the stage for more exciting journeys.